Hey, everybody. This is Vera Sadler with VLS Coaching and Women of Life Ministries. And I am here for our Tuesday Talk Live broadcast. And I am so honored this week to have two special guests with us, Joe and Gloria Alcala. And I hope I pronounced your last name right. I just assume that's the way I always pronounced it. But I am so honored to have these special guests with me. Why? Because sometimes you know people for a very long time and sometimes you don't. And I have not known them personally where I've engaged with them all the time, but I have watched this dear couple at my church. And you probably didn't know I was watching you. And I don't want to get all emotional because now that I'm talking, I'm starting to get emotional. I have watched you guys from a distance before. I mean, we've always greeted each other at church, at our church. We belong to the Oaks, and I've always greeted you, and you've always been so dear and so pleasant and so sweet. But I've watched you from a distance, and when I started this Tuesday Talk Live, I said I wanted you to come on because when you told me how long you've been married, but it wasn't just how long you've been married. I've watched how you interact as a couple. I've always see you together, see you holding hands sometime, but also I see you working in ministry. And so I want our listeners tonight and whoever's going to listen, wherever continent you're on, whatever time zone you're in, wherever you hear this message, I want you to get to know this couple, but I also want you to hear the message that my heart hears when my heart gets excited about when I see a couple, because so many times we have people in life, they're giving up. They're giving up really quick. Somebody say something to you, you don't like, you say, I'm out. Somebody talks to you, I'm out. But Mr. Joe and Miss Gloria, when I see you, you are the epitome of what many of us strive for and we don't fight for. So I just want you to come on tonight and tell us just a little bit about what has been the glue. But we're going to start off. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you hail from. I know we're hailing here from Texas, but tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, Vera, thank you so much for asking us. We're honored that you would want to interview us, and you're such a kind person. It's been a pleasure to get to know you. And like you said, we don't know you that well, but we know you well enough that you love Jesus and you try to do what he commanded us to do. But I'm Joe, my wife Gloria, and she'll tell you something about herself. But I grew up in a little country town in West Texas, which is about 70 miles north of Abilene, and grew up there and had some godly parents that modeled a great marriage. And I have to give them credit for that because they loved God with all their heart, and they served God all the years that I knew them. I never knew them when they weren't serving God. And I went to high school, played sports. Then I went to college at McMurray in Abilene, McMurray University, and that's where Gloria and I met. We have 3 children. We have a daughter, Amy, a son, Joey, excuse me, and a son, John. And we have 6 grandchildren. And I'd like to say we have a perfect family. They are perfect in our eyes, but we know that, they have their own, situations like everybody does, but they're great. They love us. We love them. And we're so grateful for them. And our grandkids are just incredible. We're so blessed in so many ways. And we're just so thankful for that. You want to say something where you grew up and so forth?
My name's Gloria, and I grew up in San Antonio. And the reason we were there, my daddy was in the military for like 22 years. And so, and then my mom, she grew up in New Braunfels. I don't know if you know where that is, but it's a sweet little town. And when we went to school, I went to school on a voice scholarship because a teacher took interest in me. There were always people taking interest in us. And we always prayed that the Lord would give us grace and favor with people.
Mm-hmm.
And he has. We are so blessed to know so many people.
Not only us, but our kids.
Yeah,
also.
And our kids too. We've always prayed that they would have grace and favor. And they have. They're just the sweetest kids. You just love them. They'll do anything for you. But no, that's where I grew up in San Antonio. I went to McMurray, got on a voice scholarship, and a lady took interest in me. And little did I know that she was a Christian.
Okay.
And she took interest in me. And at the time I was Catholic. And so some of these words, taking interest, just loving on us and things like that were kind of foreign to me, but they were different. They were really different. And I know that they cared about us and cared about me. And so I went over there, and that's where I met Joe at McMurray. And I think we went together for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then he popped the question. Mm-hmm. And so then the phone company moved us around. So we were like travelers. We went to Midland, to Lubbock, to Florida, back to Lubbock, so we've been in Austin. Yeah. Just traveling around. But I always, I just pray every day and thank the Lord for my husband, because he's so strong. And, he just knows the right things to say and do. And he just loves people, and people love him, so.
Wow, what a blessing. And just to hear that, we're going to get into some of these questions, but when you just said that, Miss Gloria, I heard the admiration coming from you. And I went to a shop this morning. I had an appointment, and I remember speaking to the lady at the shop, and we were just talking about that, how we as wives need to spend time admiring. And part of the respect part is to build up in our conversation our mates, to them, not and to others, to let others hear us say those words like you just said. So I whoever didn't catch that, I want wives that you caught that, because we were just talking about how sometimes our relationships fail because we as wives don't take that. We can pick them, and I'm just speaking for me. Maybe not you. Maybe you haven't had that dilemma in your life, but because I came from a previous failed marriage, and part of my problem was to sit back and say, and I was ready to catch the fault immediately again. And so over these years, the Lord has taught me, stop it. And now look at the benefit, look at the good, and, start looking at what's right. Don't always look at what's wrong. So when I was sitting there sharing with her that, I said, he's a good provider. I don't have to worry about these different things, and just how we as women, but I said, and, I need to say those things to him, not, and so that somebody else is not saying, oh, this thing, and drawing his attention away, so I admire that you just said that comment, because that just stuck. It resonated with me. That's something I have to remind myself to do often, is to remind my husband of how important he is to me. Mm-hmm. As his wife. I don't want somebody else telling him how great he is. I want to tell him how great he is to me. Relationship matters. Now, the reason for those who are going to be hopping on this call and listening to us, the reason I asked them to come on, I said, is how long? I think you told me 55. I may have the number wrong.
52.
52 years.
Yeah.
Almost as long as I've been alive.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm 59. I'm 58, going to be 59 soon. But that is like hallmark. And there, I know a few other couples. I only know a few other couples that have made it to that amount of time. And Mr. Joe, you said you had godly parents that modeled that for you. Would you say that has been one of the biggest reasons, and for you to have been one of the biggest things that have helped you learn how to work in your relationship?
Absolutely. When you see your parents, you see them as they are, and they were godly parents at home. They were godly people wherever they were, at the church or, in the grocery store. But I saw them just like every family, go through some really hard times.
Mm-hmm.
And I just saw that strength in their marriage, that, hey, they were gonna stay, and they were gonna see this through, and there was no wavering in their relationship and in their commitment to one another. So they were committed to one another regardless of what happened, and that has been really a flagstone for us, because my wife also she's incredibly forgiving and loving and encouraging, and that means a lot to me. so I think, yes, our parents were incredible as far as setting the foundation and showing us, not just telling us, but showing us how a successful marriage should be.
Okay. I don't know if you wanted to add anything, Miss Gloria, if I ask my next question.
Oh, I think they taught us, if there's things going on in the family, we need to pray and ask the Lord to help us, because we don't have all the answers. Only God does.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we went through or are going through some things, we know that God is there and he's going to take care of it. He really is. He said he'd never leave us or forsake us, and he's going to stand closer than a brother. And he does.
Yes.
He really does. And and when there was difficulties, we never, ever, ever went to bed angry. Joe says, no, we're going to settle this right now. We're not going to go to sleep until we talk it out. And so that's been our policy. If there is anything going on, that we go ahead and ask the Lord to help us. And God will give us the answer during that time when we're so sleepy and we need to go to sleep, but he's there and he sees us through.
Man, that's it. That's so good, because so many people just hold on to that anger, and they wake up and they still don't talk to each other for 2-3 days, and that thing becomes like an infection, and it festers, and then it continues. And then if you do it once or twice, it becomes a pattern that you learn to live with. So that becomes a lifestyle instead of the lifestyle that you created. Look, no, this is not how we're going to live. This is not what we've been taught. So what we've been taught is, okay, let's pray. Let's stop. Let's ask God.
When we were very young, and I was very, I didn't know how to handle all that, talking, leaving it all out there and talking, and then it would be so funny because after a while, what was I angry about? I totally forgot what I was angry about, and the Lord helps you in that way too.
Have you ever been so angry, like you said, and then God will show you, because you're angry at your spouse and you're thinking they're so wrong. But in the midst of it, God turns around and says, well, what about you?
Yes. That's what I was going to add to. A lot of times when we have people have a disagreement, they only look only look inward. They don't look outward. I'm sorry. They look outward to the other person, what's wrong with them, rather than looking inward and saying, hey, what's wrong with me? What is it that I need to do to make this situation better? And that's a game changer right there. We have to look at ourselves and say, Lord, what is it on my heart that you need to deal with me about?
So I want to ask just a few questions, because I know 52 years, it couldn't have all been ice cream and peaches and pie.
No,
it couldn't have all been perfect.
That's right.
Because if we told people that, they were like, well, why does she interview them? Because they're not hitting anything that I have. They've have it perfect. But I would ask, what would you say has been your greatest challenge or struggle in learning to navigate a healthy marriage? And if each one of you would take a moment to answer that, because I think for women, our challenges are different than for a man. Sometimes, we all just have different ways that we have to learn. Like you were just saying, that one thing, Mr. Joe, was one thing that you saw, and we see that sometimes we don't look at ourselves. But what has been your personal, you would think, I mean, you may not think of it that quick and we can come back to it, but what do you think has been your greatest challenge or struggle over these years that you first had to learn how to navigate to make sure that you had a healthy marriage?
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
I think the main thing is to realize that, hey, we're totally different, in so many ways. First of all, she's a lady, I'm a man, so we're totally different in that respect, of course. But the fact we were all raised a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
and normally it's different. We come from different. I came from a little small town, and she came from a city. She's a city girl. I worked all the time, and she really didn't have to work. So that was, but just our personalities. I'm not confessing this, but I have been known to be a perfectionist, and we had to learn from each other that it's okay not to hang the clothes just the right way. In fact, I'll tell you a story that that it's funny, because when you think about it, it's petty. But anyway, we first got married, so I used to do my own clothes and hang them up and so forth and so on. And so she decided she was going to do the clothes, which was fine. So when I got home and I looked in my closet, all my shirts were turned different ways and they're different colors. And I went in there and I said, "What'd you do with my clothes?" She said, "What do you mean?" She said, "I washed them and cleaned them and put them
Ironed
up."
them?
And I said, but well, you didn't put them in the right order, in the right color, and so forth. And she said, "Well, next time you can do it." Which, I mean, she had a right to say that to me.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, just the way we were raised and our personalities, we have to recognize our differences and be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
She's got to be okay with the idiosyncrasies that I have, the same way I have to be okay with how she is. I'm not going to change her. She's not going to change me. We just going to have to work together and get better at it. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what we did. We decided, hey, we're going to get better at this. And that's,
I learned that I can't change him, and he's learned that he can't change me.
Yeah.
And I think once we met in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
we saw that it's not going to happen. So you just take it all with a grain of salt and just be happy that your wife irons and washes and all that stuff, where, he may not be too happy the way I used to hang them or the color coordination and all that stuff. But to me, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
I did it. I did it out of active love.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't.
I didn't reciprocate that love.
No.
So.
But he was a young man and a perfectionist too.
Yeah, we were young.
He's gotten a whole lot better now that he's older. So.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of understand, because I've been there, Miss Joe, on your side of it. I've been there because my husband will put up the pots. If he's done the dishes, put up pots. And I'm like, he stacked them all wrong, and that's not the way they go. And then I have to say, at least he put them up, because I know some people won't do the dishes. Some people leave them there piled up. And my family has accused me of being a perfectionist. I've been accused of having OCD because I have to have it like a certain way, and but I've had to learn to back off of that too.
Yeah.
My husband has said to me before, everybody's not going to do the way you do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't demand that of them.
Yeah.
And so I understand that when you guys are saying you have to learn. And sometimes, so when you were talking about the idiosyncrasies, and sometimes I believe we allow those little things, because isn't it a scripture in the Bible that talks about it's the little fox that destroys the vine? I don't know if I'm right off, but we allow little things. Sometimes they always talking about that marriage is destroyed over finances, and infidelity. Those are the main things. But sometimes I find now it's even little things that are causing people to break relationship and break covenant. And I don't think we're taking this covenant part as serious as we should. Mm-hmm. This is a covenant that we've made before men and before God, most of all, to come in and be with one another. So one of my pet peeves, and I think I've said it on this broadcast before, I just did a whole series on relationship, but one of my pet peeves is the bed, making of the bed. If I was to go away for 2 or 3 days, I can guarantee you and come home to bed, our bed is not made. Sometimes if I get up first and my husband gets up a few minutes later and I go make the bed, he's like, girl, I was getting back in the bed. But it's because if I leave early and I come back later, he left before me, I will make the bed before I get in it. That's just something I have to have a made bed. But I don't hound him about making the bed because I've learned, I had to use that word carefully. I've learned. In the beginning, I was like, why won't you make the bed? You were the last one out. Don't you realize that that's a sign of neatness? And he's like, I don't care about that bed. I'm going to get back in it. But if we don't learn to respect each other where they are in the things that matter with him, as well as he respected things. So he'll laugh about it too. She going to make that bed. She's going to tighten those corners. She make the corners like they're military corners, and all that stuff. But that's something he knows that I do. And he doesn't even get mad if I make the bed. When he get right back out, he's going to get back in it. He just go throw the covers back and he'll start laughing. But we've learned to respect those differences about each other, but it took a little bit because there was a part of me, and it was a part of me that was like on edge all the time. So what you're saying is so true. We have to learn. We're not going to change. Look, this person's been doing this all these years and now all of a sudden you're going to come and change. But the way you said about the way we're raised too, that's key. Yeah. We come from different backgrounds. We can think we're all the same. I can think I've married my perfect mate. But when you come in together, well, how did your family do this at home? Traditions, like holiday traditions. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Spouse is talking about how mom did it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. How did, well, my mom used to, and first time my husband told me how his mom baked the pie, I said, well, your mom's not here baking this pie. You might not want to mention that again. So those little things, I believe what you guys are saying is so crucial. Anything else to add to that? I mean, it's key to learn. Wow. Yeah.
No, it's just the fact that, you have to realize that we are different people and we're going to do things a certain way. And, there's no sense in getting mad about, him not making the bed or her, putting my clothes up a different way. Just fix it and go on, and it works best that way.
I guess the longer we've been married, it's like we'll either both get in there and do something together, or he'll just take the reins and do it himself, or I'll do it myself. You just learn to know that it's going to be better either together or apart, and you just accept it. You want to do good. You want to, do things together, but then it's okay if you do them apart. I really appreciate that he just jumps in. Like I'll fix dinner and then he'll jump in and help me wash the dishes, because it sometimes I just get tired, and so he'll go in there and just help me and we'll get it done. So I'm very grateful that he helps. What are you smiling about?
Me or him? I'm smiling because that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Some people don't do that. And then a thought just came to my mind as you were saying that. So when your kids were growing up, what were some of the different challenges there? I mean, because now that you're older and it's the two of you, it may be a little easier. But when your kids were growing up, were there different challenges in marriage and raising the kids? Maybe you're working. Is there something particular that sticks out for, you say, a couple that, hey, they have kids, they're trying to navigate everything with the children, with life and all of that? Is there something that sticks out?
Yeah, I think, by the time I got home from work, because I sometimes I would work long hours and I was tired, but she was done watching the kids, and so I would take over, and I would bathe them and spend time with them and tuck them in bed and pray with them and so forth. But she would have done it if she'd had the energy, but she was done. She was tired.
We had 3 healthy young babies, a girl and 2 boys, and they were very active. And we'd be running them to baseball games, basketball games, softball games. And, sometimes I even went ahead and I got my neighbor behind me, and she was doing the same thing. She had 3 boys. So we would make dinners together.
Awesome.
And then we go ahead and use them during the week, so that way I wouldn't have to cook or she wouldn't have to cook. We were always trying to find things that would make our life a little easier with those babies. And it worked, to do that. So you always try to find something that, even if it means going to the grocery store and buying all the stuff for the next week.
Preparation.
Just did it. Yeah, the preparation.
The other challenge, it wasn't a challenging thing, but it was something that you have to recognize that when I was growing up, I was disciplined a different way than she was.
Mm-hmm.
But we agreed when we were, when we had children, that we would support each other in front of the kids. If we disagreed, we would try to, wait until we were in our own bedroom by ourselves
and talk about it
and discuss it. And we had some heated discussions from time to time, and I felt maybe it should be done this way, and she maybe felt it should be done the other way. So we would find a happy medium where to meet. She wasn't all wrong, and I wasn't all right. So we had to compromise and figure out a way to discipline the kids and know that mom and dad were going to stick together.
The kids, sometimes, not all of them, there's just 1 or 2 of them, they would go ahead and say, well, Dad said I could. And I'm going, that doesn't sound right. So I'd go over there and talk to Dad, and Dad said, I didn't say that.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd always have to make sure that they didn't
play you against each other.
Yeah, right.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And we did that, and that worked out great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That worked out great. But there was I can't say it was all peaches and cream. We had our challenges with our kids, but again, we put God first and said, whatever it takes, God, you have to show us how to discipline. We've never been parents before. You need to help us, And so when we did that, it seemed like it was better, a lot better.
So what I'm hearing from this is, first, God has to be at the steering wheel of everything you guys did.
Yes.
He was in charge. He was first, foremost in charge of everything you did. You had godly examples. Then you came together. Communication. You compromised. I heard that word, Brother Joe. You said we compromised. There were times where it was her decision, my decision, but we came together, we talked, and marriage was sometimes a compromise on these things. And then you had to learn how that don't sweat small stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
Sweating the small stuff was not important because you knew that marriage was a commitment.
Yes.
I'm just loving this because all these little nuggets that I hope people, and I'm repeating it because I want our listeners to really pick up what you're saying. You guys are your demeanor is even so sweet and calm, where most people are just like, I'm a boisterous person. Sorry. Maybe I'm just so boisterous because when I was little, I was very very timid, very shy, couldn't speak up for myself. So when I learned how to, I just talk now. I didn't always talk on this platform because I didn't like to hear it. But this is the voice that God has given me now. And I want to share it with the world. And I want to share you guys with the world and let them know that you can make it. You can be just like you guys have this loving, lasting relationship. Everybody doesn't have to end up in divorce court, some ugly battle, some have kids that are dysfunctional because they showed such ugliness before them. But you showed your kids that you were in agreement. You were there doing what you needed to do. You were working hard and come home. You said something that was so important. You said, when I got home, she was tired. She had her fill. And so it was like you had already told yourself, make time for my family. Got your second win. You made time for your family. And to me, that was a special way of honoring Miss Gloria. To me, that showed her another level. I don't know how anybody else picks that up, but to me, that was another level of love. I mean, that's speaking love language to another higher level. Like, I love you because you love my children and you love me, and you're doing all of this so that when I come home, I have a great home to come home to. And so my way of loving on you in another way is relieving you now of what you've had to deal with because I was talking to a lady last night at something my husband and I was doing, and she said, well, I'm just a housewife. And I said, please don't ever say you're just a housewife, because you have the most important job on the universe.
Yes.
You do the most important. You're forming your children, you're taking care of them, and you're providing a safe haven and a safe home for your husband. And I said, it's no just in front of that ever. You have the most important job. And she says, well, I guess you're right. I said, no, I know I'm right. You have the most important job. And so I just commend you, Miss Gloria and Mr. Joe, for how you work that out, because so many people, I mean, the guys come home and we know it. They come home, they're in their chair, they sit back, and you're like, I'm tired. I have nothing left to give. But that allowed you time to take a breath.
Yeah.
And then we're adults here. Then we wonder why then we can't be intimate with one another, because we have nothing left to give, because you haven't had time to catch your breath because you've been running around with babies all day long, and you haven't even prepared your mind to shift from work to family, but you prepared yourself for it. So I think that takes us to a whole nother next step of your marriage was to sustain because you prepared yourself to be in marriage, to be in relationship. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Well, I think about the times when Joe came home and he was tired, and I really appreciate everything he did. I mean, he would just take over and help me with the kids, and that's always, I think that's part of his love language to me, that he just goes in there and he helps me. If there's something that, got to him at work, very seldom did he get upset or anything. But as a wife, I always asked, I always knew how to give forgiveness. When something didn't go wrong, when something went wrong, I forgave him or I forgave the situation. I didn't go ahead and keep it inside and save it for the next day and then chew on it all over again. No, that's not what you need to do. You need to just show forgiveness and just love him all over again, So.
Yeah, I can attest to that. She's a very forgiving person, and I wasn't always the easiest person to get along with, but she knew how to forgive me, and that would give me the strength to try to be a better husband, a better partner, and to build our relationship. We don't want people to think that are listening to us that we had a perfect marriage. I don't think there is a perfect marriage. I think you just have to make the best of those times when you are going through hard times, when you get on that rocky road, that you still have that commitment. We're going to stick together regardless. Maybe a rough ride for a while, but it's going to smooth out. And we've had those times as well. But, God has always been faithful to help us and direct us and lead us in the way that we need to.
So when you say that, what do you think is one of the biggest things missing? I heard commitment and forgiveness. Do you think that's it? Because people say they love each other. So what do you think is one of the biggest things that's missing from people really working out issues in marriage? And you said the rocky road. We know, I mean, like if you're in your car and you're driving around and you hit bumps, you know it's going to be but what do you think is keeping people from continuing on? Is it the commitment and the forgiveness? So are we holding grudges? What do you think is the biggest thing?
I think you mentioned something about little things, in your life, and those little things can build up. And maybe sometimes people don't deal with those little basic little things ahead of time, and they just get bigger and bigger. And then you get the last straw and they say, hey, I'm done with this. I'm not going to. So I think taking care of, being in a maintenance mode, something, this is wrong. Okay, let's talk about it and get it fixed. If we just let it go, it's not going to go away. It's just going to get bigger. Right. And other things are going to interfere. But I think it's just maintaining the relationship. You have to have a relationship with each other, a trust relationship, a loving relationship, and knowing that, hey, that person's my wife's going to stick with me no matter what. She knows I'm imperfect, but she's going to stick with me regardless. And it's that commitment, knowing that, hey, we don't want another choice. We want to make this.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, we don't want to make another choice. We want to.
And I think the one word that I can honestly say is saying I'm sorry quickly.
Yeah.
If you don't say you're sorry, it just keeps getting further and further away, and you think like it's going to take forever for him or her to accept that. But no, I'm sorry.
Quickly.
That's
good, Miss Gloria. Because when you say it gets further away, and if somebody says it later down the road, and we've all probably had somebody say that to us way after the fact, and you're like, do they really mean it? Do they really want to restore the relationship? Because if you hurt me, you offended me, I mean, for a known offense, I would say an unknown offense, and I bring it to your attention, that's different. But a known offense, and you don't say it, and and you ignore it, then that makes me wonder, do you really care about me?
Yeah. And
again, then that leads to the buildup.
Yes.
Time again. And then here we are, we're living in this broken cycle. Dr. I think it's Eggerichs. I don't remember his first name, but he has that book called Love and Marriage. I recommend that to people that tell me, oh, I'm getting engaged, I'm getting married. But there's something he always talks about. It's called the crazy cycle. Like, you get on this thing, and every time I read, it's like a merry-go-round. They both are on this merry-go-round like a crazy cycle. One person does something, the other person does something, and you stay on this cycle. No one decides to jump off, so it gets better. Because we can't remain on this crazy cycle going round and round, offense after offense after offense, and no one's saying sorry. Yeah. No one's saying, if whatever I've done, forgive me for my part. No one deciding to bow their knees and pray. I think when I was going through the roughest time, I said, okay, if no one else, if he's not, I am. I need to ask God for help.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I've been there in places where I was praying, oh, fix him, fix him, fix him.
Yeah.
Finally had to learn how to pray and say, fix me.
Yes. Amen. That's good.
Because lots of times we want the other person fixed so bad, but God's like, when you decide to pray for me to help you, then I'll move in the situation.
That's true.
That's good.
It sure is.
So, but I'm not at 52 years yet. I don't know how long the Lord is going to allow Donald and I to live on this earth, but I pray that he has the same feeling about me that you said. I want him to know that no matter what, I'm in this for the long haul. That was so sweet when you just said that, that I'm an imperfect person, but I don't want to ever. It did something when you said that. So little things you guys are saying, it's like, oh, wow. If you don't know that your spouse loves you and they're committed to you and they don't want another choice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, Miss Gloria, you didn't have any doubts, I'm sure. Did you ever doubt that or worry about him when he left the house? You know, you have women that are paranoid. Oh, my husband's cheating. Their thoughts. I mean, did you ever have those thoughts?
Oh, he traveled quite a bit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
oh,
so,
yeah, speak to that for us then.
Yeah, and that was real difficult, but you just pray for him. Pray that the Lord will give him strength and not to let anything attach to him or that would hurt him or hurt our relationship, you know. But no, God comes through again. And Joe knows the importance of loving his family and his wife and all that. So that gave me a lot of comfort, you know. But yeah, you just have to pray for him and give him to the Lord, you know, because there's nothing I can do. You know, I'm not there, but God is, you know.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about, you know, you've heard that scripture, be slow to speak, you know, quick to listen, and slow to anger. And, you know, even sometimes things happen, even after 52 years, like the other day, I don't know what happened. I think the enemy tries to get in and all of a sudden we were not really been the nicest to each other. I mean, we didn't say anything really bad. It was just our attitude toward each other. And both of us looked at each other and said, what's wrong with us? Why are we doing this? And we just felt like, hey, we just got to pray and ask the Lord to, and bind the enemy too, you know, you know, from our relationship, because that's what he's after. He wants to steal, kill, and destroy anything and everything that he can, you know.
Yes.
And, you know, he's attacked us through, you know, sometimes our children, you know, and have to work those things out and realize, hey, they're imperfect also, just like their mom and dad, you know, and we just have to work through that. So.
Yes. So
prayer.
Lots of prayer.
Yeah.
We need it. And I don't think our society believes in a lot of prayer anymore, but I've told a lot of young people, I consider myself young, even though I'm about to be 59, but I tell young people,
you don't look past 39. So,
but I try to tell people, I said, even if both of you aren't, one of you need to pray. Somebody has to pray, because, you know, it says a threefold cord isn't easily broken.
Right.
I'm just praying for that threefold cord to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody needs to be praying and asking God's will to be done. And I didn't know that in the beginning. Donald and I we're both second marriage. Yeah. But in my first marriage, I mean, I knew about prayer. I got saved after the fact. I didn't know about seeking God for a mate in the beginning. I didn't grow up with the background you had. I didn't grow up having all of that. I learned it after I got married the first time, but my mate wasn't into all that. So my first marriage didn't work at all. And I didn't even leave until God told me to. I literally it was almost like I heard an audible voice. I don't condone divorce. It's not something I, speak highly of. So that's why I honor you so much, because I wished that I hadn't gone through, but I am so grateful for the man of God he has given me with Donald. We've not seen eye to eye on things all the time either, but we came into this different than I went into my first marriage. I was young. Yeah. But when I met Donald, it was commitment. Mm-hmm. We love each other, but even through the rough times, we say, we're committed. Yeah. We stood, and it was more of that healthy mindset, because we're both Christians. No matter what happens, we're committed because before God first. And if we say God put us together, then God is not a liar. Mm-hmm. So right. Either we're lying or God's lying. So God doesn't lie. So we have to be committed, and you have to work through these things. But one of the last questions I wanted to ask, and you've kind of alluded to this the whole time. What type of advice would you give listeners, old, young, someone my age, older, young couples, people engaged? I call it your secret sauce, because man, I look at you too, you smile, and anybody watching this, they're smiling like this when they're at church. I can walk up on them and say, hey, I have been bugging this couple for probably several months about this now, But what would you say the secret sauce? I know we know it's prayer and some of the other things, but anything else you want to advise a couple says your secret sauce, your glue that has made your marriage fun, something you do for fun, something you do like when no one else is around, being your secret sauce, your secret glue. Mr. Joe, what do you feel like is your secret glue for making sure you keep Miss Gloria and keep her happy?
I know I can't do it on my own. And I rely on my relationship with Christ. Mm-hmm. Because when we first got married, I was raised in a Christian home, but I did my own thing for several years. Mm-hmm. And coming back, when we first got married, I wasn't living a Christian life. And she's always, I've called her my angel. She was always good, but she knows she's not perfect, so, and before that, we had some rocky roads the first couple of years we were married. And, but once we committed our lives to Christ, really committed our lives to Christ, and we said, you're going to be the head of our home. You're going to help us regardless of what's going on. So I say the secret sauce, this may sound, kind of, cliche, but it's our relationship with Christ. Mm-hmm. That has to be the foundation of any marriage. And he has to be first. He has to be first in my life before my wife. Because if he's not first in my life, then I can't be everything that he wants me to be for my wife. So, and, Christ's characteristics are compassion, love, understanding, acceptance, and all those things. And if we're going to live, a life that's pleasing to him, that's going to have to be the sauce. That's going to have to be the glue that keeps our marriage strong.
Awesome. Miss Gloria?
I just thank the Lord every day for my husband, that he's a godly man. There's a lot of people that think they're going to be marrying godly men, but they need to look around the corner a little bit more and find out if they're going to do what God wants them to do and they're living this false facade. God is God, and he's the only one that can save your marriage. He's the only one that can be in your home and you can feel him. I mean, we pray every day when people walk into our home that they sense the love of Jesus in our home. And some people always say, we slept so good. They said, well, we prayed that you did. The power of the Holy Spirit can help you. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just God, just a relationship with him that you can talk to him any time of day. You don't have to be kneeling down in a room or whatever. You can go up and down your house and just talk to Jesus and know that he's going to answer you, So yeah, just.
Well, that what you guys said, it means so much, because you know what? That keeps us from getting false counsel. Sometimes we want to go to our single friends. Yeah. We're married. We want to go say, girl, you know what he did? Or we're talking to wrong people that are giving us wrong counsel. Mm-hmm. But if we go to the Father, he's going to always tell us just what we need to hear. And I was so glad that you said that. Just talk to him all the time, Miss Gloria, because you don't have to be you don't have to be laid out on your floor. You just walk. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'm in a grocery store. Sometimes I'm in my car and I'm just saying, Lord, just cover him and keep him. Protect him while he's driving. Protect him while, it's just talk to him. But sometimes people make it very difficult. They want it to be more difficult than it is. Or we talk to the wrong people. And people sometimes will give you advice for stuff that they won't do themselves. Yeah. They'll tell you to do this with whether it's your spouse, your children, their jobs. They will tell you or advise you to do something and then when they get in that same situation, that's definitely not what they would do. Yeah. So it's best to go to the master who has made the plan for us, right? Yeah, he's the one that knows everything. He knows our beginning from our end. So he already knows what's around the corner if we trust him.
You become who you surround yourself with.
Yes.
And so we try to surround ourselves with people, godly people that love the Lord, that you feel like you can go ahead and talk to them and tell them anything, and they will help you. But if you go to the wrong people, that's who you're going to become. And that may not be good, you know. So
and I would say one thing also to a young person that is wanting to get married, you know, whether it's next year or next month or whatever, the next couple of years, and even young couples, don't expect your relationship to just become good. Each one of you are going to have to work at it on a daily basis. And sometimes it's hard. It hasn't been an easy road for us, but we know that we were willing to compromise. We were willing to work through those hard times, regardless of what it took. So it's not going to be easy. Well, you know that, Vera, you know, in your relationships. And so it's a commitment that you make, and, knowing that, hey, you know, there's going to be bumps in the road, but it's going to be okay.
Anything good is going to take work.
Yes.
And I've always believed that if you want a good marriage, you got to work at it, you know. That's what we believed all along when we were younger and up to this time, you know.
Well, I thank you both so much for coming and sharing a little bit about yourself so that people would know it is so possible to trust God with your marriage, with your family, and that you don't have to be a statistic, that there are people who are living this out. You're the type of couple that those my age and those younger need to learn to sit at your feet and just sit. That when we have issues, we can come and say, Miss Gloria, and I don't know why I want to call her Mama Gloria. Let's say Gloria.
That's fine.
You can do that.
Yeah, and say, Mama Gloria, this is what I have going on.
Yeah.
What would you suggest? Especially since you even say she has such a forgiving heart. Some of us are so hard and brutal, and we don't have that love and that compassion or how to forgive. And she would be able to say, well, daughter, the first thing you need to do is learn how to forgive because God forgave you. But to teach us those things that you just said, you know, and some young man that you could teach, look, your wife's tired. Maybe give her a day break. But teach us those things that we can learn to sit at your feet and learn just some examples. I know we can't tell it all here on this 50 minutes or however long this talk is, but just your smile, and I'm watching you holding hands while you're people I can tell, you know, that speaks volumes. People don't understand it. That speaks volumes. Sometimes you might have people that you don't see them in the store. I see you at the church. I've seen how you're together, and you know, it just speaks so much to a person's heart to see the love and to know that you could tell what is authentic. You have crabby old people. So I thank you for the opportunity just to let others see what I see and what I have been admiring for so long when I come to the Oaks and I saw you and I'm like, oh, what a blessing to have people that I can look and aspire to be through my relationship with my spouse. So I thank you so much. And I thank you that you allowed me to share you guys with others. I know there are people at the Oaks that have known you forever, know your children and those, but it was something that I wanted to do because of what I saw and what God placed in my heart. And I just appreciate you so much because, like I said, so many other people coming along behind you need to know that what you have is possible, that it took work. It's not perfect. It wasn't easy, but it's possible.
Yeah.
Because God made it possible, but you two, God made it possible for all of us, but you two were willing to do the work. So that speaks volumes.
So we give you permission, Vera, if we get crabby or anything, to call us out.
Exactly. But as long as I have permission to call her Mama Gloria, I'm good.
That's fine.
You can call me Papa Joe too.
Papa Joe.
All right, good. I always love. I need some more moms and dads in my life to keep me accountable. keep me accountable. But thank you so much for joining us on
Thank you,
Tuesday
Vera.
Talk Live, you guys. Again, this is Joe and Gloria Alcala, and this is Vera from VLS Coaching. If you want to reach out to me, if you need any information, you see our information scrolling across the bottom of the screen. You can subscribe to my show on YouTube, hit me up on Facebook, or on LinkedIn. If you want to get in touch with this lovely couple, you can reach me and I can put you in contact if you have any further questions for them. And you can see us again next week on Tuesday Talk Live.